hello everyone. Austin just hit himself in the balls, and it's all I want to talk about. I don't know why or for what reason or how hard, but we started the call and Austin and I talked for like 10 seconds, and then he said, I hit myself in the balls, and I don't know how that happened. So
he was so excited to narc on me. He's like, hold on, everyone shut up. We have to start the recording. We have to start the recording. No one talk.
Right, well,
I have to get this on tape. It's not a big deal. I just did an accident, and it hit. I just got one of them.
With what?
My hand.
Were you swinging it around like a windmill?
No, it's just I have cords everywhere all around my computer station. I have one for the microphone, one for the headphones, one for the mouse, one for the router. There's a couple other ones, 3DS, cell phone, and I was just like shifting stuff around, and I just hit myself in. It was a glancing blow. I didn't fucking explode them. It wasn't like a speed bag. I didn't Muhammad Ali myself.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that you're okay. I mean, at least that you can do the show. So that's good. That's the most important thing, I guess. Welcome to Word Funk. I'm Leon. There's Austin and Johnny. You know
all right. So let's all tell our favorite crotch injury stories. Leon, you go first.
Oh gosh. I'm sure there've been a bunch, but nothing like springs to mind like immediately. Gosh,
I don't have a personal one, but I do have one.
Yeah. Wait a minute, I don't know why this took me so long to think of. I had a vasectomy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, that doesn't really. I don't think that really counts because you did it intentionally. Wait, did you just like wake up in the operating room?
No. What I mean is, I hurt myself in the recovery process.
Oh, okay, all right. So that was the lead up.
Yeah, no, the vasectomy itself was fine. I just lied there and she made everything numb, and I was like, this is fine. But afterwards she says, okay, now the thing you need to know more than anything else is for the next 48 hours you cannot do anything. Don't take your pain meds. And don't do anything strenuous, at all.
And then you went and just fucked for 2 days straight, nonstop.
All right, well, first of all, we know that's not true. Even without my denial. But no, I had something to do out of town, and I had to go do it. And in my mind, I was like, this will probably fine. And it wasn't. And it slowed down my recovery process because I hurt that a bit, not doing anything, I didn't slam into anything, but just jostling around when I shouldn't have been hurt, and it hurt a lot, and I was in a bad way for a few days. So that, I mean, it's not an exciting story, I admit. I wasn't it wasn't a meteor or anything amazing that happened.
That was the Fast and Furious of dick injury stories. It was riveting from beginning to end.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I loved the racial diversity.
I like the twist ending because the bait and switch was I had a vasectomy and being oh, but that's not the injury.
No, not at all. The actual procedure was I mean, it was embarrassing because I don't like to be naked for other people, but she's a doctor and I'm sure she did 3 right before it was my turn, and probably did 5 more later that day. This is nothing for her. So I was like, this is fine.
Yeah. Johnny,
anyway,
did you have one?
I have a lot of nut injuries being in Kung Fu. Mm-hmm. None of them are very funny. Because that's just that's a danger of being involved in a contact sport pastime.
That makes sense, but could you say it in a funny voice?
But it's not that's being oh, what's your crotch injury story? Well, I was at the top of the crotch injuring league, and somebody got me. It's expected, That's it's tell me about the funniest time you got a pie in the face. Oh well, there was this pie throwing competition I got into. There's no pizzazz to it. I did.
No. Do you wear a cup or what?
No, we do not actually.
Oh,
that would restrict your like, wouldn't it?
It's not weird. A case of restricting flexibility. It's a general opinion of my instructor that like you don't want to rely on the fact that you have padding on to be able to shake off injuries.
Yeah, it changes the way you move and stuff. You're like, I'll just take this one on the chin.
Yeah, so it's, like we try to be as gentle with each other as possible, right? And as you kind of go up in belt level, you can be just a little bit rougher and a little bit rougher, but it's more about how you conduct yourself as opposed to like what kind of hits you can take.
That's also the contract, my 50 Shades of Grey contract I make ladies sign says as you go up in belt level, we can get rougher.
Yes, I remember proofing that for you.
Yeah.
So it's funny too because like just as a quick aside is it's funny how illustrative that makes it that the human body is just like a frail piece of shit that's not capable of doing any of the things that we want it to do, because every so often, like every few weeks or something like that, somebody just takes a hit just like a little too hard, and they crumple. They fold like a legal document going into a letter, and you just hear this dull kind of smack, and then somebody just goes thud on the floor, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. We're all just like, glass and china.
I mean, if it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't be cool, right? That's why fighting is awesome, is because we're all really fragile and none of our meat bends the way we want it to.
Yes. So, however, the good news is that I do have a good crotch injury story.
Great.
I was at scout camp, which is a great place for anything to happen to your crotch.
Yeah, popular culture has led me to believe it's basically all trauma of every sort and stripe, right? Physical, emotional.
Yeah, as I recall it, that pretty much is. I mean, I can't speak to the American Boy Scouts because apparently the American Scouts and the Canadian Scouts are like different organizations, but we're sort of like buds. So I was at this scout camp, this big jamboree, as they like to call it, because what more off-putting name could you possibly have for a bunch of young pubescent boys going off into a bush with like a bunch of middle-aged men than a jamboree? We were by the axe throwing. There was an axe throwing like activity or something like that, and I can't remember what predicated this. We were joking around about how it was like, wow, they're shooting arrows and they're like hucking knives and like cutting stuff and throwing axes. Like, how long do you think it's going to be before somebody loses it? And my buddy was like, I just lost it! And straight up just, like, kneed me right in the crotch. Like...
What a cool dude.
To this day, I'm like, thanks, pal. That opened my eyes in a myriad of ways I was not prepared for at the age of 11. So I became worldly that day. I'm pretty sure that qualifies. I mean, he hit me well enough that I think it qualified for losing my virginity.
That's such a teenage boy thing. It's just like, for no reason, I'm going to inflict misery on someone else. I haven't thought it through. There's no profit. There's no end game. It's just, I suddenly got the animal urge, and it just has to happen now.
Yeah. I mean, it was that kind of like weird, awkward age, too, where it's sort of like, I'm not sure how feral that was. Like, did you really mean that? Was that like, I'm coming to get you because I don't know what to do with these feelings? Or was it like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if, it was in that no man's land between maybe this was just a joke gone bad and maybe this was like pure pent-up aggression that just had no other way except to emasculate another man?
I mean, that line is super thin and sometimes non-existent, right?
But at that age, there's a little bit more wiggle room. Like at 13, 14, yeah, that line shrinks down. But when you're like 11, that's like, you can go, like, you can get lost in that zone and be like, am I horny or hungry? Do I need sleep? Or like, am I worried about the current geopolitical climate?
It's just an absolute 24/7 nightmare being that age.
Yeah.
the story I was going to bring up didn't happen to me, but it's probably the funniest crotch-related stuff that ever happened in my vicinity. There was a kid on our football team who got hit in the nuts pretty badly, and we all made fun of him for a while, but he still refused to wear a cup. We all wore cups because we're not idiots. It's football, especially in somewhere as competitive as Florida, southern Florida especially. You're going to get kicked in the fucking jewels a lot.
Yep.
And our home field in South Fort Myers was constructed poorly. They ended up doing a separate entire field, as I left. But the one that we were playing on, it bowed in the middle a little bit.
So it dipped downward or upward?
Down.
Okay.
So it collected rain. It was pouring rain during a football game, and so there was some standing water, and if you play football in the rain, you don't get to go inside when it's raining. And he got hit in the fucking balls again and went down and nearly drowned in the middle of a football field in front of hundreds of people.
So, did somebody go in and get him, or?
No, I mean, eventually we did recover him, but there was an entire crowd, and he was laying there helpless, face down in a little lagoon made from poor civil engineering.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were just terrible high school boy monsters, so it was the funniest shit we had ever seen. He nearly died because he was too stubborn to wear a cup. And that's the story.
Yeah, I
mean,
I can see how that would have a comedic element to it.
It was super funny at the time. Obviously, it's sociopathic to think it'd be funny now, but it's
okay, Austin. Here's the thing: is that I am of the opinion, all right, I am of the school that there is nothing funnier whatsoever, okay, than a grown adult who is otherwise 100% completely capable of, there's nothing visibly wrong with this person, right? Walking along a flat stretch of land, a flat plain, and then somehow managing to trip themselves and fall. Because there's no reason why that should not have been a normal experience, right?
Yeah. So that's why you got to own it. You got to pretend I just saw something on the ground, I want to go back and get it, or I just got a phone call and I did a phone call maneuver.
That's just it is the funniest thing, because it's nothing mean is happening to you, and it's just for a split second you just go, well, not gonna work today, it's because that for me it's that's the perfect image of existence, where it's everybody has plans, this is the way things are gonna go, except today. And everybody gets that today. So I still think that seeing that would kind of be funny. I would not be able to, I probably wouldn't laugh at the time, but afterwards I'd be like, why didn't that stupid dick wear a cup? Because
literally,
that's an important element to this story.
There's also something else, comedic in the genital region. I don't know if I should tell this story.
Well, now you have to.
Okay, well, Leon gave me permission, so technically nothing that comes after this is my fault.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it, because if I pussyfoot around it, it's just gonna make it worse.
Do you know somebody who broke their dick?
No, that would be good though, and that's a real thing that could happen.
I know.
It's very serious.
That's a frightening. that frightens me. A lot of things frighten me actually, but that
yeah, that would be very bad.
So tell me the forbidden story of crotch trauma.
No, this isn't trauma. This is just it's a funny thing.
Okay.
That happened recently, crotch related. So I was in the middle of. I said I'm just gonna say it, but it still feels weird to say. I'm just gonna power through it. I was in the middle of receiving oral sex recently, and what, Leon?
I
just said, I was surprised. I don't know why I should be, but.
I thought you were trying to stop me, be like, no, go back, we can't do this. It's not my show.
By all means, tell me everything there is to know about your dick being sucked.
It's not. I'm not the funny part of the story. The funny part was in the middle. She did a half giggle, yeah, like that exactly, and of course I was immediately self-conscious and insecure, and I was like, "What?" And she said, "Nothing. I just remembered a dick sucking meme."
What was the meme?
The information was not shared with me. Apparently, it's a thing among people who do that. Like, you know how there's like gamer memes and there's like sports memes. Like everyone's got their own cultural memes. Apparently, there are some memes I don't have access to. I'm not privy to these memes. But apparently
I'm looking it up now because I have to.
Well,
how
RIP
would you
your
know
browser
which one
history.
is the right one, Leon?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no way. One
This
of them is just.
This is an Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade situation. If you pick the wrong meme, your dick shrivels up and becomes like 90 years old in a split second.
One of them, the first dick sucking meme is just a guy with his head around a chicken's head, and it says "sucking cock, you're doing it wrong."
Wow, that's a side splitter.
Yeah, this one says "sucked to his death in bed."
All right, now I guess I have to fucking Google this now.
Just so we're clear, I'm not Googling this.
Okay,
That's
good.
fine. Look, I live alone. No one is gonna like look at my computer and be like, it does. Nothing matters.
I'm kind of
Nothing
curious.
matters.
I'm kind of curious how this information only manages to pass between hands of people who do suck dick. Because how do you know?
What? I imagine the same way that only like gamer memes get to gamers. Like no one else is like looking at images like, haha, like the horse goes up the side of the mountain.
Yeah, I know,
like
but
in Skyrim.
does that mean that there are forums out there that are like?
I'm almost certain there are.
Yeah, like Facebook groups, or maybe the people you follow on Twitter. If you follow
The best way to I'm sure there's a Facebook group called "The Best Way to Suck a Dick."
yeah, why not?
I guess.
But
That just doesn't seem like I don't think I would go to the internet to get that information, because the internet
where would you
has
go?
never given
Like
me any good information.
I mean, I don't go anywhere to see gamer memes. I don't know why I keep coming back to that as my comparison, but it feels like the most apropos for some reason. It's like I see them, I don't seek them out, but they happen.
I know, but that's sort of like, Austin, you're kind of tangentially related to gamers as a subculture.
And I'm pretty sure there are people who are tangentially related to dick sucking culture, which I assume is a real thing.
I know. I'm just like that seems to me like that must be a harder demographic to get to. Well, I just because gamers are so very, 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 very quick and loud to tell you that they're gamers.
Yeah,
Okay, I see where this is going.
that's true. Yeah, maybe dick suckers have like a secret handshake. Mm-hmm. I assume it's one of them has a fist out and the other one just envelops it with their.
Okay. I thought you were going to say just a normal handshake because, like, statistically, like, probably half, if not more, people do it, so it's not that weird.
I'm assuming that this is a large group of people that I brush up against in a day-to-day basis, but it seems to me kind of strange that there's some secret cabal that they have organized.
Yeah. At the risk of being vulgar, there is nothing more pointless in life than someone trying to suck my dick.
Nothing in all of history, nothing in all of philosophy, nothing even theoretical could be more pointless.
Because it's probably not fun for the person doing it, and it's never going to be fun for me. So I'm just there, like, I not only is like it's not fun for me, but like I feel like weird and selfish. Like it's like a negative value thing to happen to me.
I mean, that's the joke stereotype is that like nobody likes doing it and it's like work. But I've met people who definitely very much is like, no, hold on, I got to write this essay, and they're like, actually, here's what's gonna happen. I have different plans, and so there are people for whom it's not negative value.
Oh yeah,
okay.
It's a I think it like largely depends on your past experiences. Some people
we're all shaped by
some
our
people
past.
thrive on pleasing other people. You know, they they fucking love it. And other people, it's like, what was it that I was watching? I was watching something the other week. Nick Kroll's new animated show on Netflix, Big Mouth, which is about a bunch of kids going through puberty. And there's this one scene where these two kids, these older teenagers than the ones that the show kind of follows, are sort of making out in a bedroom. And the guy kind of like pushes the girl's head. And she's like, no, don't do that. So then they make out a little more, and he pushes her head a little more. And she's like, no, don't do that. And it culminates in the end of the episode where this guy gets outed and as being like a head pusher.
Oh.
And like the whole party has this scene where it's like, you're a head pusher, and it's like it's a pretty funny show. It's quite raunchy. I liked it, but that one particular scene, I was like, yeah. I mean, I've been with people who describe sexual experiences like that, where it's an act of servitude as opposed to one of like voluntary providing of pleasure.
Okay.
Pushing down on someone's head like that is just like walking into someone's like art studio and just keep trying to like smack their brush around while they're trying to use it.
Yeah,
it's like
let
them do their thing.
Don't do it. I mean, you go ahead and do what you want with like rules of consent involved, right? Because maybe some people are into like the display of dominance and force. I know that people are.
Yeah, there's a different kind of head pushing. Yeah, indeed. But we're an entirely different. We're grossing Leon out.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Nobody's ever pushed my head. I want that to be clear. It's usually.
Somebody's pushed my head.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Oh. I feel like if we ever meet up in person, or if people see you at a con, Leon, people should just walk up and just kind of push your head, just not in a forceful or aggressive, off-putting way, but just a friendly way to greet you. That could be our fandom's thing. Just putting our hands on each other's heads and just pushing.
The first time I went down on a woman, she just asked me, and I was like, sure, because what else am I going to do right now?
And you were like, neat.
I believe my exact words were, I could do that.
It's within my capabilities.
And then I did.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think the most natural segue to get us out of this nightmare world we found ourselves in is, have we all watched Stranger Things? I feel like that's what everyone's going to want us to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good place to start. I watched it. It was fine. I liked it. It was good.
I liked it a lot. Actually, may have liked it more than the first season.
Can I just, can we get a Steve and Dustin spinoff?
Yeah, they kind of reversed the likability of a lot of the characters. In season one, Dustin was, kind of a killjoy in the way he treated Elle. And this one, he's, way nicer. And, in this, Steve is obviously the bad guy, kind of season one among the human characters. And this one, he's basically the hero. And they had to bring in a new bully to take his place.
Yeah. In order for the old bully to seem ineffectual and decent, you had to have someone who is just so much of an asshole that it becomes the Joker hates Nazis kind of thing, where
yeah.
But even still, they totally refuse to demonize Billy, the new guy, completely, because we got that scene where his dad just totally alphas him.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think that so much doesn't demonize him. I think that just there needs to be an explanation for his behavior.
Yeah,
just like everyone. So and that was a 1 minute scene, and the rest, and it's not like afterwards he turned the corner. No. Immediately afterwards, he was the biggest dick. But I found myself kind of sympathizing with him a little bit more, even though I was still you're the worst.
Yeah, I feel it felt like they wanted to do the 80s bully trope, but realized that we know more about human psychology now than we did 30 years ago. And we're like, well, the cycle of patriarchal violence, we should acknowledge that in just one scene and never bring it up again and never have any conclusions. But it's important to gesture at that. Yeah. So I found it kind of... I think they're going to pick it up in the third season, right?
It was a mature inclusion.
There's a solid chance that this character will be less shitty in season 3, and that's okay, because all of these characters, how do I put this? They're all children. This is not who they're going to be. So someone on Twitter the other day said there is nothing with lower stakes than preteen romance. Explaining that's his only gripe about the season. I still think they're cute. They're adorable, so it's fine.
It's just the stakes of shaping who you're going to be for the rest of your life and all the baggage you carry throughout every intimate relationship you have until your death. So I guess kind of low stakes. I don't buy that for a second. Sorry,
that's fair, but I'm not saying I don't agree that there's no stakes, but I'm saying that. How do I put this? This isn't who they're going to end up with, is what I'm saying. So
but it will inform that.
What?
But it will inform that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But what I'm trying to say is like when Steve like goes through his breakup, like towards the end, I'm like, it's fine. Like this wasn't going to be who you married, almost certainly. Like you're a child.
But the fact that he is okay with it is really the kind of the showing his growth, because stuff happened in season 1 which he was decidedly not okay with, and that he changed is a good thing. And I think we should, if we haven't already, say spoilers, because we're kind of some of that stuff's probably considered spoilers, so I apologize we didn't say it earlier.
Yeah.
But definitely spoilers. I watched the entire thing in, I think, a day. I was exceedingly sick. I fucked up and missed a bunch of class. I'm in trouble. Don't worry about that. The important thing is I watched all of it in one sitting, and it's very good, and in some ways better than the first. I think, as you said, Leon, because it doesn't need to spend as much time setting all the characters up. It can kind of hit the ground running because we know these people, and then it can just get to the stuff we like, which is like the 80s references, the mild horror, the cute, fun relationship between mostly likable people. It just gets right into it, and that it doesn't have kind of the dragging elements like that. I think would make season 1 hard to rewatch, frankly. A lot of that was just like table setting. The thing that I think is most controversial, which everyone's talking about, is episode 7.
Oh, I think
strong feelings, anyone?
I had no problems with it except for just like that whole like brush with being a murderer thing, you know, was just like it felt kind of forced. Like I was glad that we explored Eleven's like rebellion and her pushing back against authority and trying to find herself and like, you know, looking for her mother and then trying to find her, you know, finger quotes sister here and things like that, right? But it escalated so quickly to just like murder this guy. I was like I couldn't buy that alarm bells didn't ring a little quicker.
Yeah, that's a whole season in one episode, basically. Yeah. That's like a spin-off in one episode.
It was super condensed. I was glad that they got it over with as opposed to try to stretch it out for like 2 episodes, because then I felt like we'd be dwelling on it.
Agreed.
So I was kind of okay to just be like, okay, I know what you're like, you know, brush with the dark side. Yeah, sure, whatever. Like, let's move on. It felt forced, but they didn't linger on it for too long.
But structurally, they had to give her something to do,
yes,
because they were committed to not having her meet the boys until the end, and they couldn't justify 8 episodes of her sitting at home and staring at the ceiling.
Yeah.
And maybe that just shows that the idea was flawed from the start, because her relationship with the boys is one of the most delightful things about the show, so keeping it from us is kind of a bummer. But if they had to go this route, this isn't the worst. They didn't drag it out. It is cliche, but only as cliche as the rest of the show, which is fine.
I feel like it probably would have been better to see her like slightly disused by the world as opposed to, you know, just like being exploited by these like brand new friends that she finds or something like that, where like instead of going down the plot of like, ooh, if you go outside, they're gonna catch you. If she goes outside and just largely finds that people are just very unpleasant and uncaring, and the world doesn't really give a rat's ass about her pain, her trauma, or what's going on, as opposed to this whole, let's get you looking up like Susie and the Banshees for 10 minutes.
Although, I mean, that was kind of fan servicey for the basically the inspiration of the character, which is like Firestarter, Carrie. There's always like the makeover montage, you know, the on the run kind of from the cops. You got to like, you know, change your look up.
But Stranger Things is so good at eschewing the bad things that they're drawing inspiration from. You know?
I definitely liked the Dart arc much more than E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Come at me. I hate E.T. It sucks. It's a bad movie.
Wow. Hot take on E.T.
You know.
I've never heard anyone like. I mean, it's not like the greatest movie, but I've never heard anyone be that hard on it.
It's A, super boring, and B, doesn't really make any sense. Is E.T. some kind of quasi magic science fiction like alien from an advanced race, and he acts like a brain dead Muppet
who likes to drink a lot.
He just, I don't know, the whole thing comes off as like, we wanted him to be a dog, But I don't know. It's just super boring. Sorry.
Getting back to my point.
Yeah.
Okay, to draw like a parallel here. Okay, we have Sean Astin's character, the new edition, Bob Newface,
Samwise Gamgee.
I can't remember his last name, but like, the material that it would draw from, Stranger Things would draw from, would so easily just write his character off as being like, the square nerd.
Yeah, either a pathetic loser we're supposed to hate, or secretly the villain all along.
Yeah.
Instead of just like a nice guy who's doing his best out there.
And it didn't do that. In fact, it like deliberately swerved in the complete other direction.
He's basically the Barb of season 2, where it's a character you're like, oh, I know this kind of general stereotype, and then it's like, I secretly, and then not so secretly later, just kind of love this doofus.
Yeah. So I don't know how they managed to fall into that trap regarding Eleven's character so easily. Like it didn't, that was really my only complaint about the second season, was that like the extremity of that arc just did not feel completely fleshed out.
I have a feeling we're going to re-meet these characters in every season. Like they're back and like, hey, now we're in this, and that's why we were introduced in more than just one episode.
Yeah,
the whole season felt like, all right, we have to write this as fast as possible to get the season out as fast as possible to capitalize on the popularity. We're basically going to do the same exact story twice, right? It's the same guy who's in trouble. We have to fight the same monster, except there's more of them, like alien to aliens, and also we have to set up a plot hook for season 3.
Well, now that it's a success, and they know that they're doing, I think, 4 seasons. They said they're aiming for. Mm-hmm. You go in the first season and you write 10 episodes or whatever and be like, I hope it catches on. And then afterwards it's like, okay, what do you want? What can you do? All right, we'll take 4. Then you draft basically an over, like a long arc for 3 more seasons and work with it then. So it might work in the whole context.
It's basically The Force Awakens, where they did it again, and it's good, and it's fine.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. But it says, I mean, the season has a review of itself in the season, where they say to the new character, Maxine, they explain what happened in season 1, and she says, that's pretty good. Pretty derivative, though. I really wish it had brought more original to the table or something. And it's like, it was definitely an intentional dig at, criticism of the show, but it's also just, yes, it's just accurate and honest. I like it, guys. You know me, Stephen King, 80s, a little bit of Lovecraft this season. It's down my alley. But yeah, it's you know what it is.
I was also really pleased to see how much interaction we got between the kids and adults this season, because it didn't necessarily seem that way in season 1. But season 1 was really like every group kind of like did their own thing.
Yeah, because a lot of one of the themes of those kind of era, like those 80s kids movies, is that parents just don't understand, man. I'm going to go walk down the train tracks and look at a dead body.
Yeah.
But this one is a little bit more of like everyone's grown, and now they can communicate a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Except Mike's parents. They suck.
They do, but they suck in like an Edward Scissorhands kind of way.
Oh God! Maybe my favorite part of the whole season was when Dustin was like, "You're useless, you son of a bitch," and he just walked away. It's like, yeah, I mean, thanks. It's good.
Yeah, I think Dustin killed it. That and like when he steals from the library, like I need these books. They're the oars of my boat of knowledge or whatever. It's just like everything he said was pretty much gold. I know some people are frustrated with him keeping secrets from the team, but whatever. Like it didn't bother me.
That is what kids do.
Yeah.
That seemed really accurate to me.
And like the twist with Dart was fine. Like I didn't actually see it coming, so I enjoyed it when it came. And then when it, I was like, oh, I guess it's just the same thread again. That's kind of underwhelming, and the new one isn't that exciting. And also, they completely misdescribed mind flayers, which is they did that to Demogorgons in the first season too.
Like not from the original text, am I right?
Maybe it depends on what dimension, which version, which edition
they will be
playing.
They'll be playing like Dungeons and Dragons, like the original, because I don't think AD&D came out until like the mid to late 80s.
Okay, it's possible, and I think I think they just conflated some of the Cthulhu stuff in there because he was just like this kind of monstrous force that men was not meant to know, and they kind of leaned more into that aspect of it because the whole thing at least my understanding of mind flayers from all the books I've read, which is an embarrassing amount, is that like in older versions they're just underground, they're subterranean, they're in the Underdark, they're not in the the Shadow.
The Underdark didn't come around until. I'm trying to remember what edition.
I'm really excited that we can just pivot here and can leave Leon so far behind.
No, I actually have something real quick to say.
Yeah, get in there.
Johnny, when you were joking that Bob's last name was Newface, his last name literally in the show is Newbie.
Yeah.
His name is Bob, the new character.
I knew it was new something. I couldn't remember if it was like New Boy or so I just went with Newface.
Oh my.
Which I think actually traditionally is pronounced Newfus.
Okay.
It looks like the Underdark was originated from the book Descent into the Depths of the Earth, 1978, published for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, so first edition.
Okay. My bad. I didn't think
so
it
that
came
was
along
definitely
till
before
later.
them.
Are we going to talk about Bob's death? Because I feel like we should.
Okay. I mean, I understand what it did. The same thing Barb's did. It was a very Barb move. They kind of tried to mine that well again, which is.
I disagree. I think Barb died early.
Yeah,
and we
also did not know what she was getting into.
Yeah, Bob, like not only he like died a hero, but also like pointlessly. Like you were there, dude. You decided to like stand there and be like, hey, look, I made it. Like, why did you do that?
It's the classic like Titanic. There was enough room on the door for both of them, where it's like, abstractly, it was, from a broader point of view, it was unnecessary, but in the moment, like shit happens in life or death situations, and it's not all logical and like I get it.
When as soon as like obviously like they telegraphed it in a way because they said Bob says I'll go do it. I'm like, oh, this is where you die, because that's just how it works in horror.
But they also could have been setting it up for a subversion, which was equally possible. Right,
and the show kept like making me change my mind, and I'm like, oh, would you just? And then they did. So yeah, they what I'm trying to say is that even though like they telegraphed that he was dying, well, in the lead up to it, they did actually have me guessing and a little tense. That was probably the most tense I was during when I was watching it. I was like, is Bob gonna die? Is he going to die, or is he going to become a recurring character? I really like him. I also just really like Sean Astin. He was a Goonie, so I like him forever.
He's an affable fella.
He really is. So
that's like the secret to Stranger Things' success, is they just keep getting likable, charismatic people, even if they're quote unquote villainous, like Steve in the first season or the new hair metal guy. Like they have power to them. Like you want to watch them do their thing, and it's like. Casting is so weirdly underrated. Like everyone knows about star power, but I think even for like smaller parts and stuff, like if you get the right people, like even if your material is derivative, and if you've seen it a million times before, like it honestly doesn't matter. Sometimes it can overcome it totally. Yeah. Stranger Things just has a killer cast. Fucking Winona Ryder. I mean, I'd watch her do anything. She should just be a YouTuber and just do like haul videos or something. I'd watch it. I don't give a fuck.
So how do we feel about New Bully, the seducing an older woman scene, or perhaps, or if you look at it a different way, an old woman lusting after a child scene? How do we feel about that?
I mean, that was just like an Animal House weird science ass, like, lol, they're horny.
That was a very 80s moment.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of forgiving of it. Because of that, because it was sort of like, it seemed like an acknowledgement of how creepy a lot of that stuff in the 80s genuinely, has turned out to be. And I'm glad they didn't, go there.
Right. No, I mean, they're obviously not going to go there, but, I don't know.
Do you think it's obvious? I mean, they had teenagers hook up, explicitly in the second season.
I don't really think...
in the first season, too. Like, Nancy's had sex multiple times. She's supposed to be, 16, right?
Yeah, well, that there is that, but I mean, how do I put this? When it was being played for laughs, I was not like, oh, obviously we're about to have a statutory rape scene. No, it was like, oh, this is supposed to be funny, but I am uncomfortable. So yeah.
I don't blame anyone who was uncomfortable. It didn't particularly bother me, but that maybe I'm just speaking from a place of like privilege of being like not concerned with that as like a white man who's physically intimidating. Like I've never had to. That's not. I'm just saying. I've never been in a position where it's like that's something that I have to think about. So maybe I'm just speaking from a place of ignorance when I say it doesn't bother me. So
fair enough.
That's just my read on it.
No, that's fine. All right. Any other thoughts on this? We've gone a lot of the show.
Yeah.
There might be other topics, but do you have anything more you want to say about this before we move on?
I liked it.
I'm good.
Me too. Me too.
Yep, it's good.
Yeah. That's it. So, friend of the show, Papa John Isis.
I'm so glad we're here.
Decided to open his gross mouth earlier today and say
allegedly
that the reason,
after maybe a couple of bourbons.
to say that the reason that his company isn't making more money than it could is because of black protesters at NFL games. And he didn't say black protesters, but since that's almost everyone who's doing it, that's literally is what he's saying, whether he meant to or not. I'm pretty sure he did.
Can we, every time we talk about Papa John from now on, can we introduce him by just saying like alleged racist, alleged alcoholic, alleged wage thief, Papa John?
With this.
Okay.
Not actually a Papa or a John or anything. His pizza's garbage. We hate him. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, he might be a John. I don't know about his trading actions.
It's all alleged is my point.
Yeah, allegedly.
I looked it up. I can't remember what his last name is now because I'm dumb and I forgot to. Oh, his last name is Schnatter, which I could be wrong, but does not sound Italian. If I'm wrong, like may God strike me down, and I apologize.
Leon, it's the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life, and indeed, this fellow once won the world championship pizza competition down in Las Vegas 2 or 3 years ago. Jewish, so
no, it's fine. I'm not being a pizza racist. I'm not saying that Papa John Schnatter shouldn't be able to make pizza just because he might not be Italian. What I am saying is he is clearly trying to make people think he is Italian by calling himself Papa John, and that is basically the backstory of Saul Goodman. I don't know.
That sounds kind of like cultural appropriation, if you ask me.
I think Schnatter is German. My Google Foo is a little weak right now, but it's coming up that there's a town called Schnatterloch in Germany. I don't know. I'm also seeing a lot of Deutschland. Just anyway, that's my preliminary Googling.
Okay. I guess the point I'm trying to make is he seems like a big phony. I don't think that's too controversial.
I mean, in addition to being allegedly a piece of shit and an alleged, person who doesn't think his employees should have health care and allegedly hates black people.
And that he makes alleged pizza.
Mm-hmm. Friend of the show, allegedly.
Of the show.
I just want to say, from a legal perspective, you can say whatever the fuck you want as long as you follow it with allegedly.
Yeah.
Alleged astronaut, Johnny Maloney.
Yep.
Okay. That's neat. Okay.
Alleged cunnilingus black belt, Leon Thomas.
Hey, let's be clear about this. Yeah, never mind. It's gonna start.
I was so fucking excited for you to defend that.
No, I mean, look. Here, look.
I'm looking.
I feel weird talking, saying anything.
Would you rather be
good about...
alleged mayor of blowjob memes?
Look, I'm just saying it's hard for me to say anything positive about me and sex. Mm-hmm. So it if I ever have to say anything good on my part about it, it sounds weird and wrong and I don't want to be like that guy in
Leon,
the locker room.
it's
that
okay.
gives people
Everybody
high fives.
knows that you're a space elevator to Bone Town. Going down.
We've all heard the rumors of you just absolutely crushing it.
Look, all I'm saying is that I have never actually enjoyed having sex, but the people with whom I have shared that experience have been appreciative of me being there.
Yeah, you're like a human rabbit.
They have all told me we have a secret handshake. There's a forum on the internet that we go to. The memes, Leon! The memes are just so fresh.
I get nothing out of saying I'm good at sex, though, because all I want to do is meet a nice asexual girl who will never ask me to be with her physically. So that's it. Okay. This was fun.
Fuck Papa John, allegedly.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely fuck him, but fuck alleged Papa John.
And now that I've actually experienced his alleged pizza...
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel so, like, twice as comfortable saying it. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Papa John Schnatter contributed to Donald Trump's presidential campaign. I feel like in a few years, that's going to be like saying you made shells for the Nazis. So, like, good job on being on the wrong side of history.
Well, I mean, that did utterly destroy, brands like Hugo Boss and BMW, which haven't existed since World War II.
Is it wrong that I kind of want to just call him Daddy Jack Schnatter?
That's the title. It definitely is.
That'll wreck him.
Okay. This was fun. I had another thing about military dolphins, but we can save that for another week.
Military dolphins? Like Flipper with a gun?
No, the United States military literally trains dolphins for their uses.
Is it called Project Echo?
It's not actually a weird conspiracy theory. It just sounds like one. No, it's a matter of public record that they do that. I need to do more research into it to do like a full deep dive, but the fact that it even exists at all to me is it's part hilarious but also like terrifying.
I'm not sure I want to know the details, Leon, because right now just the mental images I'm conjuring up just like straight from the well of my imagination are just so wonderful.
They've been trained to rescue lost swimmers and locate underwater mines. So
that's neat.
So there's no like cavalry situation here.
No, about 75 dolphins are in the program.
Although
I find it a little dangerous because the way. Never mind. Were
you about to say something real spicy?
No, how do I phrase this in a way that's not horrible? I feel like if you're sending a dolphin to find a mine, the way it's going to find it is going to be pretty tragic.
Yeah. I mean, there's a long history of that. I think the best, dogs can sometimes find them and be retrieved, like if they can come back and point the human there. But a lot of times, the animals that were trained to find mines was their first and last assignment.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Made myself sad.
There's a big difference between land mines and water mines, though, insofar as...
I think you have to hit the water ones at a higher speed, right?
Oh, Austin.
Oh,
what?
Gosh.
No, the visibility.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't know if a dolphin would necessarily trigger it. Where if you step on a landmine, if you're like a dog size, you've probably done so. But a dolphin can find one and then report back, or they have cameras.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the military.
Report back.
I don't know. Talking about this is depressing.
I mean, Leon, you laughed, but that's literally what like certain dogs could do is report back. But yeah, on the military dolphin Wikipedia page, there's a picture of a dolphin named K-Dog, and he's wearing a camera on his flipper, and he's flying through the air, and he looks like a superhero. It's very good. I love K-Dog, even though he is a Fed.
Fucking narcs.
There's a movie called The Day of the Dolphin, and it is about an assassination plot using dolphins. That's how I originally learned about this. Someone showed it, like a picture of it. I'm like, that can't be real. There's no way a movie's tagline could be, unwittingly, he trained a dolphin to kill the president of the United States.
How much better would Day of the Jackal be if it was about a jackal that was trying to kill the president of the United States?
He just had a real... He had an itchy trigger finger, and also he was a jackal.
God, the Day of the Jackal is notable for only one scene, and it's when Jack Black gets shot into fucking pieces. It's It's not supposed to be funny, but it is.
Wow.
Jesus, I think it's a remake of that. Anyway, I'm just Googling about that scene. I have to find what that was. You guys keep talking.
That's fine. Did both of you guys watch the video I sent you? The music video, Big Enough?
I believe my reaction on Twitter very specifically illustrated that, yes, I did.
Good.
And more than once.
Yeah, actually, before you sent that, I've seen clips of it going around social media. I hadn't seen the whole thing, though. And I'm not sure that the whole thing really was more elucidating than the clips. You could explain that in just a second. I just do want to acknowledge that the Jack Black version is a 1997 remake, just called The Jackal. The original from 1973 is the one called Day of the Jackal. So I am aware of that. Sorry about your comments.
Yeah. The video is called Big Enough, and it is about two lonely cowboys who might love each other, and then much larger ethereal cowboys scream at them in a funny way, and then they talk about world religions and countries, and it's like it's a joke, but it's also like so pure, and I really enjoy it. If like I can't explain it with that in a way that does it justice. So just go to YouTube and type in Big Enough. I am positive it will be the first result, because it certainly was for me. That's it. I just wanted to put that good thing out into the world and have more people watch it, because it made me very, very happy for the few minutes that I watched it, and the many other minutes that I rewatched it over the course of the next 2 days. That's it. Do you guys have any other topics you'd like to talk about this week? Because I'm out. Those were my 3.
Austin?
I do. I always have topics. We have, like 10 minutes for the thing? Do you have any, Johnny? I feel like I've dominated a lot of the conversation.
I'm focusing on myself. I have, like, weird personal stories and stuff like that, and strange observations about myself, and nothing gripping that I think would involve anybody else. Just kind of, like, weird ramblings about my life.
That is basically your entire brand.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's weird. I feel like in the past few weeks I've had trouble segueing into that, and I'm not really sure why.
Everyone loves you, Johnny.
I'm not. I don't speak to people anymore in my non-work time. Because it's like when you're cohabiting with someone, you come home and then like you exercise brain muscles, being like, well, how was your day? And like absorbing information that you're actually interested in, as opposed to somebody like, telling you something that you need to know in order to do your job that is just sort of like whatever. So there are these weird aspects of my recreational conversational person that are just getting a little rusty. And I've noticed it bleeding into my podcasting style, because I don't just necessarily like jump in and seize opportunities in ways that I used to, or steer conversations or anything like that, because it's just it's not there. I'm not using that muscle. I don't know. And that's not even like my weird observation for this week. Something that I noticed about myself this week was how like when, like, I know that people are social creatures, like it's embarrassing if you try to defend the possibility that they're not, right? But I've noticed something, like a really weird habit that I have, which is like when I have a social activity with someone, because I usually tend to bond with people over social activities. I don't play video games with just everybody. I have like 4 people that I play video games with. When I go to shows, when I go see concerts and things like that, there's like 2 people that I will like go and see concerts with and things like that. When I go to see movies, I'll go to see movies with like 1 or 2 people. And I noticed this week, just kind of like, because my life is kind of settling into like single life now, and I'm getting comfortable with it, and I'm sort of feeling like myself again, and everything's getting a little bit more normal. But like I've noticed that these things that I would do with my partner, right, or with other people that just happen to be my partner, because it's rude to not include someone that you're around for like 3/4 of your day. I don't, when I lose that social connection, I don't fill it with anything else. You know, like I went to go see Blade Runner a couple of weeks ago, and I went alone. I went to go see Zola Jesus play in concert a couple of weekends ago. I went alone. And it's like, I've noticed that all these social things that I used to do with somebody there, I'm now doing just kind of like by myself. And that's kind of, I don't know, it feels sort of strange to me. Like, I don't know if that's kind of like a trapping of my personality or a backlash. Am I being immature? Am I like, I don't need nobody. Watch, I'll go be happy at a concert on my own. You know, or if I'm just oblivious to it. I don't know. But it
depends on what you want, right? Because my personality is that I can literally be left alone for weeks, if not months at a time, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't really crave that much human interaction. That's just my tolerances. I know some people get super fucking bored if they don't hang out like every day.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where you're at, but
I don't know. This is the thing, is that it's been like 10 years since I've had to like confront the kind of person that I am in this situation, and I don't know how much I've changed. I'm overthinking this. I'm overthinking this way too much. But I can't stop thinking about it because, you know, I'm trying to catch myself basically from like from where I've been to like where I've kind of fallen, if you will. I don't think it's necessarily a falling situation, but you know, like my life is definitely less enriching than it used to be. I don't feel as farther along and as like exposed to new things as I was. So I'm trying to catch myself in the optimal position and like be as comfortable as possible. And I'm totally overthinking it. I can't just like let it be. But it's weird because I don't know. I don't know if I'm okay, and it's apparently not in my personality to just be like, well, just you know, like be okay with it, because I can't, because exaggerated gesture.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Is anybody okay though? I don't feel like I've ever been okay. I feel like most people who seem like they're okay are like faking it or just displaying the okayest parts of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that like, you know, I've got all my ducks in a row, but I'm fine.
All our ducks are everywhere, man. Our ducks are all mixed in with our geese, and there's a fucking dove. How'd that fucker get in there? Who knows?
It's all pigeons to me, man.
Pigeons are doves.
You're a dove.
This is the same thing.
Okay. I saw a bunch of ducks the other day. That has nothing to do with anything that we're really talking about. But I saw figuratively. But I literally saw actual ducks the other day, and I had to wait until they crossed the street. It took a really long time, but you know what? It was worth it because they were really cute. That's it. As to the actual thing that we're talking about, no, I understand. I mention from time to time that things are really good for me this year, but that's like in broad terms. Like I still have like occasional major issues.
We all do,
you know,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just like I'm a little frustrated that I can't just let it be. You know?
Yeah.
Like I can't just fuck whatever. Just let it be what it is, you know? And it's, oh god, people frustrate me so much because I'm still doing this like online dating thing, this Bumble thing, which is just like it's going fucking nowhere, and it like not only is it going goddamn nowhere, but it's frustrating too to see like the other attitudes of people that I'm kind of like in this mess with, where everybody seems to think that it's like if you're not like accelerating somewhere at a destination at like a breakneck speed, then you're, I don't know, wasting away, you're stagnating or something like that. It's sort of like I'm kind of like, no, can't we just sit down? Isn't that okay? Isn't it okay just to be okay? Do I always have to be stressed out about how I'm not developing? But I am. Like I'm stressed out that I'm not developing, that I'm not recovering properly, and that I'm not like and I'm just wasting a lot of energy being freaked out about whether or not I'm okay. And I'm fine, god damn it.
Gosh, you sound like it.
I mean, apart from the fact that I sound like, I don't know, like Ryan Lott on his first Sun Lux album trying to sing, "Will you love me?"
That's a reference to something I don't know, but
that's for my obscure music peeps. Anyways,
it's okay.
I'm a grumpy middle-aged man. Leave me alone. I'll be okay.
Okay.
What do you have, Austin? What do you got?
I mean, I'm always up to stuff.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've got one more thing. I forgot.
Yeah.
One more thing, guys.
Yeah.
I'm doing something terrible.
Ooh.
Like
cool.
Awful. Operation Mistake Beard is in full effect.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah. Now I have not had anything kind of like resembling facial hair going on up here in like over 11 years. And just so we're clear, I'm the kind of person who only has to shave like twice a week. Like people get like 5 o'clock shadow, I get like Wednesday afternoon shadow. I mean, this is presuming that I shave on a Monday morning, right? Well, I don't know why I thought this was like an idea that I was going to do, and I am deliberately excluding usage of the word good from that sentence. But I think I'm going to do it. So I haven't shaved in like a week and a half now, and it looks horrible.
Johnny, you're so handsome. Why would you cover that up?
Because I just haven't done it in a long time. And I'm like with the long hair and the being kind of sick thing, I feel like it's like my body is telling me swerve into the hobo chic, man. Just like, and I think maybe I'm just going to do it just for a little while so I can clean myself up at the end of it and people can be like, "Oh yeah, Johnny's handsome." So you guys are not going to get photos. There's like, not yet.
Okay.
All right. Not yet. Because right now it's got a very distinct kind of like plague thing going on. Like, corpse a few hours after its death where the skin shrinks and just like bad hair kind of like juts out. But I don't know, maybe in a couple of weeks when it starts to look like almost something.
Okay.
But it looks awful. It looks terrible right now. I'm just feeling it. And yeah, there's a reason why it's called Operation Mistake Beard. There's just a mistake. But
I mean, one of the joys of being single is not having to worry about how you look quite as much because who cares?
I think you have that backwards, Austin. I think that when you're single, you have to worry about how you look more.
Nah. I do life the opposite because anyone who would still like you, even if you were gross, is worth being with. And then it's worth you putting in the effort to impress them. If they only like you because you look good, and when you get into a relationship, you lower your standards because you don't respect them and value what their opinion of you is, I think then you're fucking up.
But you don't feel like you have to put your best foot forward? You don't feel like you have to make a good impression and be like...
You can if that's what you're interested in doing, but I don't think it's incumbent upon you to try to impress everyone you meet because the person who would only respect you because of the way you look is not someone who you want in your life anyway.
Well, no. I mean, it's just you're casting a wider net, I think.
I'm not interested in the widest net. I don't. I'm very narrow targeted, niche net. I have niche appeal. So I only need a niche audience.
Yeah, but do you not feel that maybe you have missed some of that niche audience? Because
it's possible, but I'm also grateful for the niche audience I have, and I'm not trying to worry about those two in the bush because I got the one in the hand. You feel?
I mean, yes, but I'm just talking like probability here, statistics.
Yeah.
Because 100% of zero choices is still zero, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear you, but that's also the pickup artist line of thought is like just take 1,000,000 shots because statistically you're going to hit one, and I ain't about that life. So I'm going to carefully pick my 10 to 20 shots.
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm going to hit
all
of them.
I'm looking for that one. Don't get me wrong, but I still feel like I need to advertise myself to actually get in the door and make the assessment and be like, oh yeah, okay, no, No, definitely not. I have to go because of pickle fire.
You can live the pickle fire lifestyle if that's what you're into.
That seems to be like the culture that I'm in right now. The whole like bumble app swipe culture thing that is
that is definitely the prevailing attitude, is that you should be as sexy as possible at all times. You want as much attention as possible. If that works for you, I'm not trying to yuck your yum. Everyone live your life, stand in your truth.
It's different for you. You're at school. You're meeting new people every second day probably.
Yeah, you're getting like blowjob offers. It's weird.
Not even offers, but like fulfillments.
And giggles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone loves those giggles that make you feel very insecure.
I work in an office building with like the same 40 people every day. Every goddamn day. And I don't like any of them except for like maybe 4 or 5. You know?
I mean, that's your immediate surrounding, but you do live in like a metropolitan city, right?
Yeah. And then, I go out to shows and movies alone and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no nightlife expert. I assume there are ways people do stuff in those environments.
I don't know because those are not the areas in which my best qualities shine. I need the opportunity to be able to look people in the eye and sit down and speak with them. That is where most of my charm lies. And don't get me wrong. I have had some experiences. I believe I recall I told you the story about the girl who tried to get me to take her belt off at the show that I went to. And I was like, have a great night.
I do like the phrase, tried me. Huh? She tried me. She tried me on for size at the concert.
Yeah, sorry, and I spaced on it. So that is not where I shine. That's not where my skill set is. In a top-down RPG, if you use me to, like, in that situation, I'm going to crit fail. That's rolling a 1 right there. I need to meet people in slightly more subdued circumstances, like parties with low to middle level, like, music volume and things like that. But none of my friends throw parties because they all have little kids now. And if they do, it's like, let's have dinner and invite, like, one person over. And so you don't meet any new people. You just have a really bitchin' ceviche.
Johnny, if your best, like, impression is one-on-one, mostly you speaking, being funny and clever and nice, and them seeing your handsome face, preferably well lit, have you considered a career in dentistry where you literally have them strapped to a chair?
Apparently, this is something I've read. Apparently, dentistry has the highest level of sexual dysfunction of like any profession in North America.
I wonder if that's cause or effect.
Wait, you say dysfunction, do you mean like inappropriate behavior or like their dick don't work?
Their dick don't work, and also apparently extramarital affairs. Like when they have like dentistry conventions in cities, sex trade goes like skyrocketing.
Yeah, dentistry is weird. Like, I made that joke just because it fit the criteria of the thing you were putting out. But actually, dentistry is weird because it's so lucrative. But you get basically zero respect. It's in like a crazy like space, right? In the professions where you don't get like doctor reverence, but you do make like nearly doctor money, if not more, depending on your specialty and like location. So it's weird, right?
Yeah. So I don't think that's for me.
Huh.
I don't need it. I don't need a captive audience.
Okay.
Also, just other people's mouths can be gross. So
yes. I mean, like, don't you think that just like staring into somebody else's like stinky ass mouth all day long would just make you sick and tired of the human body? Wouldn't you just want to like burn it?
It was like we were talking earlier about the vasectomy doctor. Like, you just see so many dicks all day that you're just like totally over it. It's like you see so many mouths that you're just like, I don't really want to watch anyone eat. I don't want to smooch. I don't want to hear anyone talk. Like, I'm just over mouths.
Okay. Okay.
Dentists. All right, it's question time?
Sure.
Okay. Common Ryan, Nouveau Art Punk on Twitter asks, for Leon, who is your all-time favorite heel? And then Cyrus chimed in on the thread to just put in parentheses, wrestling.
Okay.
And then while you're thinking about that, it's a two-part question for me and Johnny. Favorite concept album?
Ooh.
Yeah. Thinkers all around.
Okay. I guess I can go first.
Yeah.
All time is hard. When I was young, probably Mr. Perfect, because partly he pulled it off well, but the gimmick kind of made it sort of excellent. I mean, there's nothing more hateable than a guy who is great at everything, can prove that he is, and he's also an asshole about it. That was his whole gimmick. He could do everything really well. And they like played all these like vignettes of him like always like shooting basketballs like while not looking at the hoop and everything. It was very elaborate and very good. So I thought he was a great heel. In my younger adulthood, probably CM Punk. His run in Ring of Honor was very good. When he came to WWE, it was hard to boo him because he had earned so much like goodwill over the years that people didn't want to boo him anymore. So he eventually became like a good guy. Right now, it's probably The Miz because he has a very punchable face, and he's very good at it. Like, and I can't even imagine him even wanting to be a good guy. Like he's just really perfect at getting everyone to hate him, and that's really hard these days because like all the best bad guys, everyone wants to cheer them because they're so cool, and the dynamics of like the 80s aren't around anymore. But The Miz consistently draws heel heat, pretty much 99% of the time. So I guess him, yeah.
I didn't understand any of that.
No, that's fine. That's cool.
Cool. I actually am trying to learn more about wrestling. I'm not trying super hard. Honestly, I could be trying harder, but I'm putting in a reasonable amount of effort. I think that someday I will be able to talk to you like an idiot about it.
Okay.
On here,
maybe you
at
could
least.
actually just watch a wrestling show instead of like. That'd be the easiest way to do it, and it would be probably the most fun. But like, if you just want to read on Wikipedia what heel means and everything, that's also fine.
That's mostly what I want to do. I mean, I have seen wrestling before.
No,
is the thing a couple times, but I don't know. Maybe. Johnny, do you have an answer for concept album? Do you want to? Should we define that?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea because, like, there are some concepts album that are sort of like that thematically unified, and then there are other ones that are sort of like, weave a world and a story and stuff like that.
Yeah, like Pink Floyd's The Wall is probably the most obvious, or The Who's Tommy are like the prototypical concept albums that tell a story, right? And then you have just like OK Computer by Radiohead, which is like loosely about technology and modernity and societal disconnection.
Yeah.
So it's not a great definition, but vaguely it's like something that tells a story or has a strong theme to it throughout. But
yeah, so the ones that kind of like immediately jumped to my head were 69 Love Songs by the Magnetic Fields. And I guess like tangentially as well, the birthday album that he did earlier this year, my memoir, or 50-song memoir, sorry. But I gotta say, right now, probably Carrie and Lowell by Sufjan Stevens, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Which is this. He had a pretty tumultuous upbringing. He was raised mostly by his grandmother, I think it was, or his grandparents, because his mother, Carrie, was a schizophrenic substance abuse risk. So she would kind of drift in and out of his life a lot. And she passed away back in, I think, 2013 or 2014. And her husband at the time, Lowell, actually runs the record label that Sufjan Stevens is on, and I can't remember the name of it, but I have the name of another record label stuck in my head, and it just won't leave. And I know it's Jello Biafra's record label, Alternative Tentacles. So I don't know why. I I'm just gonna Google it. Sufjan Stevens record label. Asthmatic Kitty Records. Thank you. So like, Carrie Stevens's husband at the time of her death, Lowell, runs Asthmatic Kitty Records with Sufjan Stevens, and when she died, he just had a whole lot to unpack about their relationship. Because she would try to be a good mom, and he was like cognitively aware of that, but she just couldn't. Like I'm trying to remember what song it is. There's a song about him getting left in like a video store parking lot or something like that on the album. I think it's Eugene, maybe. But yeah, this like the Carrie and Lowell is just such a dense and emotional album. It is so raw, but just like kind and loving and wistful and regretful, and it touches so many feelings, and it's so strong. I think it's one of his best works. I've been listening to it a lot lately. When I first got it, it passed out of rotation pretty quickly, but for like the last year, I've been listening to it pretty heavily, and it's a very strong album. Austin?
Nice. Yeah, I didn't want to jump in too early because you were on the whole thing, and it was very good. I've been thinking very hard about it, and I think my answer is Crack the Sky by Mastodon, which I've talked about before, which is the story of someone who is astrally projecting, and their soul gets sucked into a wormhole and goes back to Tsarist Russia and inhabits the body of Rasputin and then takes part in a revolution. Just your normal stories.
I can see how that would be your favorite.
It's just, it's a normal story to tell in music. I also have recently, and maybe the temporal element of this is biasing me because I've been really into it lately, but The Hazards of Love by the Decemberists, which is an album I didn't like at all when it came out. I thought it was twee and kind of grating, and I don't know. It didn't do much for me, but I've been super into it recently, and it has almost like a show tune quality to it. It feels like it's supposed to be performed on a stage, and it's a very like fairy tale. Like there's like a guy who gets lost in the woods, and his life is saved by a witch, and then the guy falls in love with a woman, but then the woman is kidnapped, and then he makes a deal with the witch to save the woman, and then they both drown themselves. That's the story in the album, but it's really good. And I can't decide if it's better than Crack the Sky. It's obviously not comparable sonically. One is heavy metal and one is like indie rock, but those are the ones that come to mind off the top of my head. I would have said Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, Animals are all very good. Preferably While You're on Drugs. I think Animals is probably the strongest as a concept because it's only like 5-6 songs long, and it's just like dogs. And it's a metaphor about people who are like dogs, and then it's pigs. Here's a song about people who are like pigs, and then sheep, I think, is the other main one.
But I want to give a quick shout out to Chris Keenes. That's Kiehne, Holy Court of Baltimore, because it's a concept album about Hamlet.
Nice. I do want to listen to that. That's Dream Theater has some Shakespeare shit in there too. I think it'd be irresponsible not to mention Dream Theater or Rush right now. So we should probably at least say their names. Yeah. All right. So music is incredibly alienating for Leon. So let's find a Leon question.
That's okay.
No?
While you guys were doing that, I was watching a GIF of something that's happening in wrestling right now. There's a tag match, and because it happened on Halloween, one guy came to the ring with candy, and he gave it to one of the guys in a mask. But he says, "I can't eat it because I'm a masked wrestler." And then he lifts his mask off very slightly so he can eat it. And then he shows candy to the heel, and he looks at it sort of like dismissively, But then he relents because it's candy, and he smiles real wide, and then he eats the candy. And I just thought that was beautiful. So that's what wrestling is like, in case you were wondering. It's a lot of that, and also punches. So next question.
James, just Clay Pigeon 162 on Twitter asks, most inexplicable franchise? Parentheses, how did Planet of the Apes spawn so much?
Oh, well, the first one was good.
That is always the problem, right? You come out swinging, and then people expect more, and you're like, nah, I put it all in there. Like, that's the whole more? What do you mean more?
Here,
I'm sorry,
look,
the question was what? Most what franchise?
Inexplicable.
Oh,
like why did this
Narnia.
get big?
I am surprised that the Narnia movies got as far as they did, because they were all terrible.
Oh, you mean so the movie adaptation specifically? Because the first book that was released...
Oh, no, the books are great. The books are children's lit classics. I'm talking about the big screen movie adaptations that all got made in, like, the last 10 years or something.
Got it.
They were all awful and warranted no further pursuit of a Narnia cinematic universe.
Okay. For people who don't know, the books are in the order they are marketed in, and they're numbered if you buy them like in a collection, are not the order they were published in. So The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe came out first, but it's like called the second one, and then later he wrote The Magician's Nephew, and that's called the first one. It's like a whole Star Wars thing. I don't know if that's common knowledge, but...
I did not know that, but I've not read any of them. So.
Oh, they're pretty good until starts getting. He got wild with Christian shit in later books. Like it's obviously always present, but there's like literally they just like get raptured in the last battle. It's pretty bad. But.
Yeah, I don't think you're in the target demographic anymore, Leon.
Well, still,
I think most people will recommend the first 3 at least: Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which I think are what they made the movies out of.
Yes.
Yeah, which is where they stopped. They haven't made Silver Chair into a movie,
No,
have they?
No, that was it. 2010, Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Okay, yeah. But I actually enjoy some of the later ones. I think the Silver Chair is underrated, but I don't know if that's a popular opinion. But
yes, but the point here is the movies are trash!
Yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent. Inexplicable franchise, yeah. I assume the answer for Narnia, as well as most things, is because they make money, right? Like, my knee-jerk reaction would be something like, oh, the Medea movies. Like, why do they keep making these? These suck. No one likes them. But actually, they make a ton of money because people do like them. There is an audience. It's not inexplicable. There's a very explicit explanation, and it's that people see them. So I had to find something that is both derided and not lucrative, and yet still keeps getting made. So hold on, let me Google.
How are the 50 Shades of Grey movies doing?
There's the two of them made money, so the third and final one is coming out in February.
Damn.
There it is. I mean, it wasn't not going to make money. That's the thing. They weren't, to the best of my knowledge, they weren't super expensive to make, because it's not like there's a lot of elaborate special effects.
Yeah, true.
And neither of the 2 main characters, or any of the characters, as far as I recall, were like big name actors.
Yeah. No amount of special effects is going to make those 2 like each other, though.
Yeah, that's true. Because my show is what it is, I have seen both of them. And I'm trying to think if there is anyone. Wait, in the second movie. Damn, what is her goddamn name?
Anastasia Steele? Are we talking about 50 Shades Still? I blanked out.
In the sequel, like an actual name actor is in it, and I can't remember who she is. She was in L.A. Confidential. I can't remember her name, and I feel bad. But yeah, she's like the biggest star that's in it, and she's only in one of them. And that's it. So it's like they weren't. They're gonna make money because there's a fan base for it, and also like it's hard not to. There you go.
I'm looking up the cast list for 50 Shades now. Did you have any thing for the Inexplicable franchise? Because the things that come to mind sound like edgy opinions, like DC films. Like, why do they keep trying to make this into a thing? Nobody likes it. They suck. Obviously, they do make millions of dollars, so that's stupid.
Yeah.
And also, Sonic the Hedgehog. They were never particularly good, and especially the later ones, except for, of course,
really?
People are going to say, well, I like Sonic Heroes. Oh, I like Sonic. I get it. It's fine. But that's what came to mind.
Okay.
Kim
I'll-
Basinger is the...
That's right. Kim Basinger. Yeah. She's good. I'll defend the Sonic games. I mean, I shouldn't be the one to have to do it, but yeah, I'll jump in here and say that the Sega Genesis Sonic games were good.
Yeah, I'll go to bat, at least for Sonics 2, 3, and 4. Which, when I say 4, I mean Sonic and Knuckles.
Oh, okay, because there is a Sonic the Hedgehog 4.
Yeah, I only just realized that as the words were escaping from my gaping mouth.
Apparently, there's a new Sonic called Sonic Mania, and it is also good. But as everyone knows, I definitely have not played it.
My doctor has advised me to stay away from too much mania.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that my gaping mouth and Knuckles would be a good name for your dentistry practice.
I can see the logo now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next question, Jay. I'm gonna mess this up. I apologize in advance. Poirier asks, Johnny, I was thinking of doing martial arts. Any tips on how to find one and which organization to join? Help me punch good. That last part was me.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that basically you want to do. First of all, you want to decide what you want to get out of it. If you want to get fit, it doesn't really matter where you go. Okay, if that's all you want. If you want to get fit and compete, then you're going to want to look at who they've trained in terms of, like, what sort of tournaments they've won, things like that. If you want to get fit and learn to fight, that is different. Because fighting in a tournament, most martial arts tournaments are point-based. They're not actually about whether or not you properly be able to defend yourself in a situation. So if that last one that you want right there is, you got to find a school that's non-tournament style. That's super important. 2, go in and interview every single school that you possibly can. Try and talk to the top dog if you can. If the owner of the school, the person who is head, sensei, master, grandmaster, whatever word they use, if he doesn't have time to talk to you, he is not going to have time to instruct you. Try and find one-on-one instruction if you can. This is increasingly rare in this day and age, but think about it this way, is that if you go in for a group class and there's one instructor at the front of the room and you're there for an hour and there's 30 of you, that instructor has 2 minutes of time for you each hour. Unless you're preternaturally prepared to learn a martial art and you're really good at picking it up, your progression is going to be super, super slow. Watch for shady practices. So if you go in and they have to sell you a kit, and that kit isn't comparable to what you would be able to get at a sporting goods store in terms of sparring gear and a uniform and things like that, or if they offer you in this kit, you need to get our branded towels and our branded this and that and things like that, then it's likely that you're going to a scam. It's sad, but there really is no regulatory body when it comes to good martial arts schools. So you've got to watch out for companies that want to charge you extra money for things that they shouldn't have to. One of the other ones is belt tests. If a company is going to charge you money for a belt test, then it's in their interests to test you as many times as possible, because it means that you're going to fork over cash every single time you test. And that means that you may not necessarily be ready for the belt, but if they're like, I think you're ready, so why don't you just give me $80 and we'll check and see if you're ready to go. Stay away from those places. Furthermore, if they charge you money for belt, above cost. You can go to a martial arts store and buy a black belt for $10. Congratulations. But if they charge you money for a test, or they charge you $80 for the belt, again, all of their impetus is to give you belts without necessarily giving you the proper training. Look for places that actually apply their training as well. Because I've been to a lot of places, or I interviewed, I should say, at a couple of places that didn't spar, because sparring makes winners and losers out of people, and we don't really want to foster that kind of negative growth environment here. No, if they're not going to teach you how to use what you learn, it might as well be useless. those are good starting points. Try to go to a place where you can see what they do as well. Ask if you can sit in on a class or see a demonstration or something like that, because it's better to know everything that you go into. Try and find schools that have been open for a while too, because martial arts schools have a tendency to open quite quickly and then close quite quickly, because a lot of them bank on that same a gym mentality where people show up and you buy it for a year and then they show up for a month and they quit. That's another thing you should watch out for. Try to find places that will only charge month to month, even if it's like you sign a contract, or they make you sign a waiver or something like that. Waivers are usually part and parcel, because if you get kicked in the face, it's kind of your fault for, signing up to a place where they're like, we might kick you in the face. But yeah, watch out for places that make you sign contracts about how long you're going to have to pay them for. So yeah, try to find like month to month, places that don't have like yearly fees and stuff like that. Yeah, rapid fire. That's pretty much everything I can think of. Don't shy away from places that will like teach you how to kick people in the groin properly. Because that should be a go-to move. If you're fighting for your life, that should be a go-to move. So
and it does wrap around neatly to the beginning of this episode, huh?
Yeah, it sort of does.
Do you guys want to do one more?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
This is a good one. Jessica Sims asks, best Disney animal sidekick.
Ooh, I'm fond of Abu.
Oh, Boo's good. I was going to say Raja from also Aladdin. I think it's a very good animal movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite thing about Abu? I like that he's small.
I like that his voice is very similar to Donald Duck, even though he's definitely not a duck.
He's not a duck.
Not at all. I mean, not even
not even a little bit.
I like that Abu is selfish, but he was like, yeah, all right, I'll give you kids bread.
Yeah.
But he doesn't stop being selfish, because he almost gets Aladdin killed in the Cave of Wonders. I feel like I'm spoiling Aladdin now.
It just came out.
Sebastian the Crab.
Ooh, that's a great pick.
Yeah,
that's good. What's the I should probably just Google these things. There's the
I'll just know.
The lizard from Tangled. I like.
Oh, Pascal.
He's good. There's been a lot of good Disney. I feel like that's the thing, isn't all of them, but. There's a whole bunch of lists on the internet. Who knew that the internet cared about Disney? Weird.
Oh my.
But yeah, I like Raja because he's a little sassy, but he's also very big and soft.
Yeah.
He's thick.
That's one way to put it.
I had to. Oh, Doug from Up is on. I'm sorry, the internet's telling me all kinds of good animals.
I've never seen
Doug.
Up.
You how?
I don't know.
It's good.
It never came up.
Oh my!
And that was not
good.
I didn't bait that joke. I mean, it was there and I took it,
Yeah.
but I'm serious. I've never seen Up.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm surprised we didn't get any questions about the new Lion King casting. Have you guys seen this? It's pretty lit.
It just came out like a few hours ago.
Yeah.
Are they doing a live Lion King movie? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, it's a live action Lion King movie in the sense that The Jungle Book was a live action movie, but like not really. They're remaking The Lion King for a new generation, and that's fine.
Donald Glover, Simba.
Yeah,
he's everywhere.
Nice.
He's in it.
I like that they just said, you know what, we can't really recast Mufasa, so there's just no reason to. Mm-hmm. So we're just gonna have him be James Earl Jones again, and that's great. Yeah.
Also, every character in The Lion King is an animal sidekick because they're all animals. So I don't know if any of them qualify. I'm surprised we didn't get a single question about the Manafort indictment, which tells me our audience does not give a shit about politics, and I am just so envious.
Austin, there's nothing to say about it right now.
I guess.
You know, it's like those video game articles that are like, oh, the top 10 things we want from the next Grand Theft Auto game. It's like, no, that's not a thing.
That is good SEO, though.
It is.
It is good SEO, yes.
Before we go, I just want to say that when I was looking up dick sucking memes, one thing that popped up was just a quote, and the quote is, "I love to suck a good dick," with 3 exclamation points, and it has me wonder: does it mean good like it's a proportionate and tasty dick, or is it like a moral dick?
No, it's the first one, but I do like the idea of the second one.
Leon, I believe that if it is a moral dick, then it's certainly clean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which inevitably contributes to its tastiness.
Which is apparently an issue. I follow Merritt, who's a journalist and podcaster. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her work. She did a video game she made called, what was it? God, I don't know. What's his name? From Riddick.
Oh, yeah.
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel. Yeah, it's called, the game she made is called Vin Diesel DMing a game of Dungeons and Dragons just for you. Was the thing she did back in the day, which is amazing. That's where I know her from originally. But she's also a journalist. She wrote an article about like that apparently guys don't wash their dicks enough, and like it's apparently a big issue with like sex workers.
Okay.
That it's like apparently genital hygiene is an
not just their dicks,
issue,
but also apparently their ass cracks.
Just everything. I didn't realize this is an issue. This is why I follow journalists on Twitter. I gotta get those hot scoops.
Guys, get in there.
Just scrubbing bubbles the whole thing.
It's gotta get clean. If you want anybody to go anywhere near it, fucking clean it.
It's the least you could do.
You know what makes things easy, to clean there? Is being perfectly smooth.
Okay, well, I'm done recording for the night. And do you have any last statements, any thoughts, any outros?
Just want to give a big shout out to soap.
My last thought for the night is R.I.P. Bob Newby. You will be missed. 2017 to 2017.